Hello, today we'll be talking about Fafner, the Azure, or the anime. Uh, Fafner was actually a pretty enjoyable series overall, but it's very, it really comes into its own very late into the game. I think I've noticed this more as I've seen more 12 or 13 episode animes, that it really would have benefited instead of being a 26 episode anime if it had been a 12 or 13 episode anime. Maybe even shorter, maybe a couple episodes more. But there will be long stretches of time where the episode will just be dragging on just a bit. And sometimes it works to its advantage. Like, somewhat early on, in episode 6, a character dies or whatever, and then all of episode 7 is spent pretty much just bemoaning how that character has died. And although it's very nice, it gives the characters more world building in a sense that you see them caring about someone. It's not just, oh no, somebody's dead. I'm sad. Uh-oh, there's another enemy. Kill it. No, it definitely makes it feel more connected and less artificial. But did it really need an entire episode to have the characters begrudging the death of a fellow character? Really, it feels like the only important episodes are maybe 1, 2, 6, and then, I don't know, whichever episode is where Kazuki runs away. And it really and then when they get Kazuki back. But even still, the only point of that is to have Kazuki get a stronger weapon. And the series does a very interesting thing where it's debatable either way whether or not it's a good or bad thing. And it does that power up weapon thing that a lot of children's shows do. Like, for example, whenever in the Power Rangers would get a new robot to fight enemies with, then, they would win the first battle like in 10 seconds flat. And then in subsequent episodes, the enemy battles would have to be stretched out, back to their 3 or 5 minutes, so that way they're not boring. And it kind of does that, except it does an interesting thing where it does stretch out some enemy battles after Kazuki gets the power up weapon, and some of them it just skips entirely. Like, there's literally scenes like later into like the 20 episodes or whatever, around the 20 episode mark, where there's an alarm going off and all the pilots are like, oh, I have to go fight an enemy now. And then it cuts and then it goes to the next scene and they're all just like, wow, that was a tough battle, wasn't it? And it's very kind of jarring because it doesn't have a smooth transition from scene to scene of pre-fight and post-fight. But I like it because it doesn't waste the audience's time on the battle. Because the end point of it is just that they survive and it's fine. But it's very interesting because I felt like there were a lot of battles in like the first 16 or 15 episodes of the series, and I wonder if, because when I saw the final episode, I felt like the animation and things weren't as great or as tight as they could have been. So I really wonder, did they maybe blow their budget on the first 10 episodes or so and then have to be like, oh no, we have to finish this series. So it had that as a problem. And then in this world of Fafner, people humans aren't able to have kids, so they have to genetically clone them or reproduce them. Or there's even a line of dialogue saying they have to get robotic uterus or something like that. And it it was kind of left unclear, but basically the point was that, alright, humans can't have children. So basically every child you see is adopted, but it wasn't quite clear at times. I don't know if that was due to the translation or what, but it seemed as though the kids who would have parents, they were adopted, not biologically related necessarily, but they were, what's the word, sometimes somewhat genetically related. It was very unclear with its wording at times, and so it could get easily miscommunicated as such. But I just kind of took it as there is no biological relationship between the parents and the children, for the most part. Some of them maybe, some of them not. I don't know. But anyway, so as that goes on, eventually in the series, it's discovered that there is a girl who is pregnant, or might be pregnant. I believe they eventually state that she is definitely pregnant. But it doesn't really mean anything. It may have something to do with the fact that flowers and bugs came to life on the island, but at the same time, it didn't necessarily do anything, I felt like, either. And with how dark the series gets, especially in later episodes, I wouldn't have been shocked if they had made her given a miscarriage. That actually would have been really interesting. But I understand why they didn't do that for only multitudes of reasons. But at the same time, I just felt like there was a lot more it could have done. The series definitely has an anyone can die at any time vibe to it. I mean, out of like I think the series starts off with about 8 or 9 pilots over, and then it's down to like the final 4 at the end, and it's kind of intense. It at least keeps you on your seat, and you're enjoying it for the most part, in my mind. But overall, I felt like the ending really lacked a lot because, especially in the last episode, right before the ending of the 25th episode, it's shown that they're all separated and, things may not be going well for them. And then at the beginning of the 26th episode, they're all back together. I'm just, they're all, or at least it seems like they're all in the same room. It may be due to the fact that they're all in a dark gray place. But at the same time, I was pretty sure they were all separated at the end of the 25th, and then they're all back together at the 26th episode. It was just very jarring, or at least confusing from that point. But no, the ending is pretty happy overall. And it's overall an enjoyable series. It's pretty dark, but at the same time, it feels like it could have been deeper in some areas, in some respects, because sometimes they're just characters who are bred to die, and they're not as bad as perhaps red shirts in Star Trek, but they are maybe like, I don't know, a character who just gets a couple episodes and then dies off. And I think that is perhaps the weakest part of the series is there's just people who die just no reason other than to die, and they do their one little plot arc and that's it, and it's not too interesting. Although I do actually like how the characters interact with one another. They do have a somewhat of a tight-knit group, but I really overall just enjoyed the kind of storyline of humanity is on the last ropes. Humanity is just rats running away from a tiger. And I kind of had an issue with the design of the aliens. I liked them and I both didn't. It was nice to see them being these kind of, golden, shiny, almost ornament-like creatures. But then, it really kind of shows how weak they are in terms of like as a character. At the end, where in the last episodes, one of them takes on the form of a human, and it's as though you've spent the last I don't know 20 or 18 episodes just watching humans fight amongst humans and occasionally and fighting Fafner, and then all of a sudden you see one of the Fafner looks like a human, and it's obvious that you're supposed to transcend or transport your kind of animosity towards that human looking Fafner. But at the end, it's just very kind of also jarring to see humans working amongst humans when just 10 episodes earlier they were trying to kill each other. So overall, I really enjoyed the series. It was fun and it was really dark. If you're not ready for some children dying, you probably should skip it. But I really enjoyed it overall, mostly due to its serious tone, although there are some pretty lighthearted moments in it. I think it was great, but it could have been better overall. Alright, that's it.